Let's face it, toxic men are everywhere. They're in our social circles, workplaces, family gatherings, men who thrive on stoking confusion, eroding self-esteem, and making you second-guess your own reality. It's like stepping into an invisible spiderweb. You sense something's not right, but can't quite pinpoint where it began or how to get free. So here's a radical thought. Quit trying to fix toxic men and start outsmarting them. Imagine you're learning to navigate a tricky labyrinth. Instead of taking random turns or hoping the walls magically change, you map out the maze with fresh, bold tactics that nobody sees coming. This isn't about the usual advice. Set boundaries, walk away, practice self-care. You've heard all that. We're here to talk about innovative strategies that unmask manipulative behaviors and put you in control. By the end of this video, you won't just survive these men, you'll rob them of the one thing they crave, your energy. This is about reclaiming your confidence, fueling your personal ambitions, and quietly rearranging the board so you're the one calling the shots. Ready to exit that web and never look back? Let's dive into 9 clever, eye-opening ways to outmaneuver any toxic man. 1. The mirror confrontation trick. Instead of a heated argument that puts him on the offensive, try flipping the script with a technique I call mirror confrontation. Calmly restate his manipulative words or behavior as if you're just verifying the facts. So you said you don't want me seeing my friends because you think they're a bad influence? Did I get that right? Why this works. Toxic men hate having their tactics reflected back to them. By playing it cool, like you're clarifying a misunderstanding, you subtly force him to confront the absurdity of what he said. It's not about catching him, it's about letting his own words stand naked in the spotlight. Key tip: stay poised. If you keep your voice level and expression neutral, you're effectively shining a mirror on his behavior without giving him ammunition to flip the situation. Number 2, the puzzle approach. Imagine each piece of his toxicity as a puzzle piece. Random guilt trips, shifting blame, ambiguous half-apologies. Rather than trying to solve everything at once, like a typical confrontation, pull out one piece at a time. For instance, if he tries a guilt trip about you working late, zero in on just that one tactic. I notice you're implying I don't care about our relationship because I'm focusing on my career right now. Can we clarify why you believe that? Handling only one specific piece helps you isolate and neutralize each manipulative strategy instead of getting overwhelmed by the entire puzzle. Over time, his playbook becomes painfully predictable and you remain in control. Bonus: this approach shows him you're observant. He can't casually blend manipulative moves into an emotional soup. 3. Limited response to emotional bait. Toxic men often press your emotional hot buttons. Instead of going fully silent or reacting with fiery comebacks, try limited response. Offer a short, factual reply, then pivot. That's interesting. I've got to finish my project now, let's talk later. It's less about stonewalling and more about training him that trivial outbursts won't command your undivided attention. Over time, he learns that shock tactics no longer produce a dramatic reaction. Why it's fresh: we're not telling you to ignore him outright. We're using smaller, purposeful responses, like minimal replies, to disrupt his drama cycle. This kills the reward loop that toxic men depend on. 4. The time-lapse journal. Ever felt like your memories are blurred by gaslighting? Keep a brief, time-lapse journal of suspicious comments or manipulative incidents. A few bullet points each day are enough. Reviewing it weekly can be an eye-opener. Patterns of disrespect will glare back at you in black and white. This receipts approach doesn't just keep facts straight, it validates your feelings when he insists you're overreacting or misunderstanding. Seeing consistent evidence of his toxicity can be the wake-up call that motivates you to change how you interact or to leave altogether, if that's right for you. 5. The role swap visualization. Picture a scene. You're standing in front of a movie screen, watching a toxic moment unfold. Except now you've replaced yourself with someone you deeply care for, like a dear friend or sister. Ask, would you tolerate seeing her being spoken to or treated this way? This mental role swap does more than evoke empathy. It spotlights the subtle or overt cruelty you might have normalized. By flipping the lens, you jolt your protective instincts awake, instincts that often stay dormant when you're the target. Practical tip: right after a negative encounter, find a quiet spot, close your eyes, and mentally switch places with your best friend. How would you react if this man pulled those tactics on her? Let that clarity guide your next steps. Why it's fresh. Many women know they shouldn't tolerate toxic behavior, but it's hard to break the emotional cycle. Shifting perspective to someone you'd fiercely protect can ignite a powerful sense of self-advocacy that logic alone can't always spark. 6. Counterintuitive empathy. Use strategically. Ever had a toxic man do something so hurtful that rage is your immediate response? While anger is valid, a brief flash of counterintuitive empathy can sometimes diffuse his manipulations. Imagine you respond, "It sounds like you're hurting or anxious. I'm sorry you feel that way." He might be stunned because he expects an argument or tears, some reaction to feed off. However, this is empathy with a purpose. It's a mental detour that keeps him from dragging you into an emotional quicksand. Crucial caveat, this isn't about excusing his behavior. It's about robbing him of the chance to escalate. Think of it like stepping aside so the negativity glides past you. He finds no purchase for an ugly back and forth. 7. Network hacking. For emotional reinforcement. One overlooked tactic is actively hacking your social network to fortify yourself. You might be used to vague advice like, talk to a friend. Let's take it up a notch. If you're dealing with a toxic man, create a mini squad of confidants, people who know the situation. This might be 2 or 3 individuals who each play different supportive roles. One friend might be your reality checker who calls out red flags. Another might be your confidence booster who reminds you of your successes. A third might be your comedic relief who helps lighten the emotional load. Why it's game-changing. When you carefully curate a supportive board of directors, you have immediate backup whenever a toxic scenario arises. So next time you're blindsided by manipulative accusations, you can quickly text or call someone from your squad for a sanity check. This synergy drastically reduces the isolation that toxic men rely on. 8. The boundary bomb. Unexpected but firm. We've all heard about boundaries, but toxic men are pros at sneaking past them, unless you strike with a surprising boundary bomb. This is when you drop an unyielding statement at a moment he least expects. "We're done discussing my schedule. I won't be answering any more calls about it. Just letting you know." He may try to argue, but you don't budge or re-engage. Your boundary becomes a non-negotiable fact, dropped so decisively that he doesn't get the usual preamble to weasel out. It's like slamming a door in a house with no echo, swift and final, leaving him little room to manipulate. Why it's potent. Typically, manipulative men count on your inclination to be polite. By delivering a crisp boundary, you short-circuit his usual lines of attack. Pro tip: prepare boundary bomb statements in advance. Rehearse them mentally so you deliver them confidently, free from shaky hesitation. 9. Exit stage right, planning your swift escape. Sometimes, a toxic man is beyond reason. No tactic or conversation will fix the chaos he brings. This is where exit stage right comes in. Your strategic plan to quietly or boldly remove yourself from his sphere. This could be ending a dating relationship, initiating a job transfer away from a terrible boss, or cutting ties with a manipulative family member for your mental health. Key steps. 1. Logistics. Secure finances, living arrangements, or professional alternatives before you announce any final move. 2. Safety net. Loop in your board of directors, letting them know your timeline. 3. Clarity. Be ready for love bombing or guilt tripping at the 11th hour. Toxic men often escalate once they sense you're leaving. Acknowledge this possibility and stay the course. Emotional impact. Quitting a toxic dynamic can feel like losing a limb if you've been emotionally intertwined, but it's more like shedding a dead weight that never served your growth. Once you mentally reframe it as reclaiming your independence, exit stage right becomes an act of self-love, not loss. So, how do you translate these 9 strategies into day-to-day reality? Picture a low-key training mission, testing each of these techniques in smaller interactions first, maybe with a coworker who's always critical, or that casual acquaintance who can't help but drop snide remarks. By experimenting in lesser-risk scenarios, you'll get more comfortable with these tactics before you deploy them in high-stakes settings, like a manipulative romantic relationship or a deeply entrenched family dynamic. Real-world mini-challenges. 1. Office politics. Instead of avoiding the colleague who's consistently stirring drama, try the mirror confrontation or puzzle approach. You might find a surprising sense of control by calmly restating their manipulative remarks or isolating one manipulative move at a time. Family tensions. Toxic men aren't always romantic partners. Sometimes they're uncles who throw jabs at holiday dinners or cousins with envy that morphs into sabotage. Draft a boundary bomb statement before that next big family gathering. When he says something that crosses a line, calmly deliver your pre-planned phrase and watch how it reshapes the conversation, if only because he's utterly unprepared. 3. Friend groups. Maybe it's a friend's boyfriend who always tries to embarrass you with offhand remarks at get-togethers. Apply the limited response method. Acknowledge him briefly, just enough to show you've heard him, but don't engage or feed his desire for drama. If he escalates, that's a major sign you need to restrict contact and pull your friend aside later to discuss it. Shattering the toxic magnet myth. There's a damaging narrative floating around that certain women attract toxic men. Let's obliterate that myth. You're not a magnet for negativity. These men's behaviors are a reflection of their own issues. Lack of empathy, need for control, unresolved trauma, or simply poor character. Understanding this is crucial. You have the freedom to rewrite your story at any moment. By using any or all of these 9 strategies, you're taking your first steps toward forging a different pattern, one that doesn't revolve around you tiptoeing around someone else's aggression or manipulation. The more you enforce these techniques, the less you'll tolerate or attract men who refuse to grow beyond toxic habits. The emotional roller coaster. What to expect? Let's be real. When you start pushing back, especially if you've been accommodating in the past, these men often ramp up their toxicity. They might accuse you of changing or being difficult. Expect the classic guilt trips, love bombing, or downright hostility as they scramble to regain control. Here's the crucial part. Don't take their reaction as proof that you're wrong. Instead, see it as confirmation that your new approach is shaking up their old blueprint. If you ever catch yourself feeling shaky or overwhelmed, double down on your network hacking. Reach out to that close friend or relative who offers unwavering support. Vent, cry, or reevaluate your tactics with their help. But don't slip back into being someone's emotional doormat. Building a future you deserve. These strategies aren't just for crisis management. They're stepping stones to building a healthier environment for yourself long-term. When you integrate them into your everyday behavior, you'll notice a shift in how you interact with people, even those who aren't toxic. You'll set more direct boundaries, communicate with greater clarity, and ultimately develop stronger, more respectful relationships across the board. Think of it like cultivating a garden. Removing the weeds, toxic behaviors, is only step 1. You also want to nurture what does make you flourish. Friendships that celebrate your wins, partners who champion your independence, mentors who inspire you to soar higher. By consistently applying these 9 clever tactics, you're effectively telling the world you won't settle for less than you deserve. Your next bold move. Here's your prompt for action. In the next 24 hours, identify one toxic dynamic, no matter how minor, and use any single tool from this new arsenal. Maybe you'll do the role swap visualization after an uncomfortable phone call, or you'll jot a quick note in your time-lapse journal to capture a manipulative remark that felt off. Trying just one of these steps can flip a script you've been stuck in for months or even years. Then, come back and share your experience in the comments. This community thrives on real stories from women who dare to reclaim their power. Was it awkward? Did you feel uneasy? Great. That means you're stepping out of your comfort zone and into a future where you're no one's victim, and you might just inspire someone else to do the same. No matter how tangled the web or how long you've been caught in it, you can break free and rewrite your narrative. Embrace these 9 creative, bold strategies. Remember that you are the anchor of your life. No man, toxic or otherwise, gets to toss you in a storm and walk away unscathed. Sure, it takes courage and sometimes heartbreak, but on the other side of that door marked "Exit Stage Right," there's an unapologetic peace you might have forgotten existed. Your life is yours to shape. You can outsmart the chaos, stand unflinching in your worth, and surround yourself with energies that truly lift you up. Because if there's anything you should take away from this video, it's this. You're not stuck. You're stronger, wiser, and far more capable than any toxic man would have you believe. Don't just survive, thrive.